Welcome back, YouTube, to the F1 Challenge 1960 season. We are at the halfway point of the season in this race. We are at Belgium for the 5th race of the season. Here are the standings currently. We're all the way down here. Kind of sucks, actually. We seriously need to start getting some points because if we don't, we're going to probably lose our seat, and that won't be great to go into the 61 season. Here's the constructor standings. Cooper is still winning despite the fact that I've scored 0 points for them, so you know the team's doing well. So I'm gonna go off, do some qualifying, and hopefully this will end well, this race for once. See you on the other side. Well, welcome back, guys. I had a fantastic qualifying, qualified 5th. Albeit like 2 seconds off Dan Gurney, but it's still better than has been done previously. I don't know why half the field didn't go, but okay. Oh, let's get to the race. So we're starting in a very good place here. Oh, for some reason starting 6th. I don't know what that's all about. But it's 3 laps. Just gonna go 20 litres there. So yeah, let's get this race underway. Alright, I'll just make sure that and we're off. I made sure that my launch control was definitely on before I pressed down on the accelerator here as we go into Eau Rouge. Flat out corner, nearly a flat out corner, running a little bit wide there as we cut back into the track. We've got a good run onto the long straight here as I tap someone. I think, did he crash? I don't know, but we're in a very good position here. Hopefully we can score some points this time as we go around Joe Bonnier there, and now we're behind Graham Hill, and I'm assuming that's Sterling Moss up ahead. Yeah, it's Graham Hill, and I believe that's Sterling Moss as we pass Graham Hill, and we're about to pass Sterling Moss here. We are leading a race, I think, for the first time this season. I will have to check that, though. It will be very embarrassing if that's not the case. But as I said before, this is a very good track for us because the Coopers have very, very good straight line speed. We've got a good engine. We've got a good like aerodynamic package. I mean, that in and of itself is quite small. Essentially, we're just a tube, but we're a non-obstructive tube, unlike the cube on wheels Lotus. Sterling Moss is in one of those Loti. He's not actually on Team Lotus per se, but he is in a Lotus, and it is an ugly, ugly car. I have no idea what the designers were thinking with that, but I don't think they were thinking very much about looks, so much as they were thinking about speed and the engine. You know how Colin Chapman is. He would happily make an ugly car. Interesting fact, I qualified, I fell asleep, so the qualification session ran full, which I don't usually do because it's an hour, and then I did the lawns, had dinner, came back, and now we're here. So yeah, I've been doing some other stuff, but we got ourselves a good lead here, so hopefully this will turn into a race win because we really need it this season. We need to prove to our team that we're worth keeping and that last year's World Championship was not a fluke, because of course we won the 59 World Championship. I don't believe we'll be in the running for this World Championship. You know, not with the bad start. We haven't scored in the first 4 races of the season, and there's 10 races, so that's 40% of the races we did not score in. That's not a good record to have in Formula One. When points mean everything, but this would be for the Constructors' Championship. We're definitely on our way to winning that, by the looks of things. I think there's a button on my arm, I don't know. It's just itchy. So yeah. It's a very nice track though, the old Spa circuit. I think I prefer the new one. There's less straights. I mean, this is essentially the whole thing is virtually flat out. Virtually, there's like this turn is not quite flat out, and there's like I think there's a handful of corners that are not quite flat out, but the whole thing other than that is flat out. So it's very good for the Coopers, such as myself. As we round the final bend here. So this is the start-finish straight of the current track as we go down this back straight here, down to the familiar Eau Rouge corner. Of course, this is the start-finish straight back in these. I think this is 1978. Up until 1978, that's the start-finish straight. So yeah, well, we haven't had many exciting races this season, and this is turning out to be yet another non-exciting race, but for a good reason, because we're pulling Sebastian Vettel and just taking off. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. We're pulling an Adrian Newey car and taking off into the distance. Because to be perfectly honest with you, this year we can see this year that Sebastian Vettel is not as good as people were claiming. You give him a car that's not up to scratch, and he can't win. He can't even, he can barely get onto the podium the majority of the time, and that just goes to show, what kind of a driver he is. And he's not the kind of driver that I like in Formula One. I like the Fernando Alonso's, the Daniel Ricciardo's, Lewis Hamilton's that can get in a shit car and get some good results. Jules Bianchi as well, but unfortunately I don't think he will be in Formula One, to be honest, anymore after this year. I think after the accident in Suzuka, I don't think he will be back. I think that's the end of the road for Jules, and that's a real shame because he was a real talent. But the other real talent that's in sort of the mid teams is Nico Hülkenberg. I really think he has so much potential. I honestly see him at Ferrari now. I saw Jules at Ferrari from 2016 onwards, but in light of recent events, I think Nico Hülkenberg would be more suited to that. How on the note of Fernando Alonso buying Lotus, I don't really buy into that, and the reason I don't is because Flavio Briatore, the other party that's supposedly going to be buying the team with him, is disgraced as a Formula One team boss. He couldn't step back into Formula One even if he wanted to. Crashgate is still fresh in everyone's memories. That destroyed the budding career of one Nelson Piquet Jr. And nearly tarnished Fernando Alonso's reputation. Could have ended very badly for Fernando. And I'm glad that he got out of there while he could. I think it tarnished Renault as well, very much. They never really recovered as a works team after that. And then, of course, in 2011, we were bought by Lotus. Sorry, 2012 they were bought by Lotus. And it was funny, a couple of months after they were bought by Lotus, and the team was then purchased by Genet Capital, who are their current owners, and they're struggling. And I mean, a lot of people say we shouldn't have, money caps or whatever, because there were never money caps in the old days, and there were always teams that came and went. But back in those days, when you were not spending nearly as much money on the cars, you were just buying the parts. And generally you'd have a car, especially in the 50s and 60s, you'd have a car, you'd have it for the whole year, you wouldn't upgrade it once, you'd only be fixing it, whenever it got damaged, and replacing its engine every time the engine blew up, and that was about it. And nowadays we're doing like R&D testing, the teams are so much bigger, it is a very different world that we live in now, and I think that Formula One needs to evolve to understand that and when you've got the top team spending upwards of $300 million a year and the bottom team's barely getting $100 million, you know there's a problem. I think that we should have a spending cap of around $80 million, $80 to $90 million a year, on research and development, and I think that the rest should be up to the teams. Uh, Honestly, that way you still got the cutting edge. Formula One will still be the cutting edge, but the bigger teams cannot then run away with the lead all the time. That way we have teams like, I mean, Force India has come a long way since its back of the pack days. It is no longer a back of the pack team, you know, and that's a real testament to VJ's money. I mean, VJ is a billionaire. He's a tycoon, so he has money, and he's able to fund the team, and that doesn't happen a lot, you know. Sorry I've been rambling, but there's nothing really else to talk about in this entire race. We're 25 seconds up the road from Sterling Moss, and we're on the last lap, so it was a boring race in a good way, because I was finally able to score some points, but score points in the best way, which is winning a race. So hopefully now we can, you know, focus on you know, winning the Constructors' Championship for Cooper, showing them that we're still, you know, we're still worth, you know, a driver's seat here next year, because that's all I'm worried about really. Because I think I told you guys when I first started this F1 Challenge series back in the 1958 season that I have an algorithm that determines which team I go to. So this, when I say I'm worried, I literally mean I will put in the details for the season, and I may not be able to get a seat at Cooper. The way I work it out is essentially using the actual standings of the teams in the game at the end of the season, and the desirability, then using that as a measure of desirability, and I suppose tiers. I have 4 tiers of teams, and each tier, like if I had scored no points, I could have only gone into the fourth tier. Well, sorry, the third tier. I think it was 3 tiers. Tier 0, tier 3 is just non-point scoring teams. Tier 2 is point scoring teams, and tier 1 is podium teams. So that's how I've broken it up, and if there's so that way the computer program then looks at my results, and if I hadn't have won a race or gotten onto the podium, I could have only gotten either into tier 2 or tier 3 cars. If I hadn't have scored any points at all, I could have only gotten to tier 3 cars, which is essentially the way it works, and then I just choose the team from there. But we've won our first race of the season. It's our first point scoring result of the season, so it's a welcome result. So yeah, I'm happy with that. It was a long race though, so sorry about the little entertainment factor that there was. But you know, I got a good result, and Sterling must finish 35 seconds behind me. Jeez. So finally, see my name on the top there. And yeah, I'm guessing this keeps going until the third person crosses the line. And there we go. So myself, Sterling Moss, and Graham Hill on the podium, with 2 people not finishing the race. That's a pretty good result, but I'm about 10 kilometers an hour faster on average than Sterling. So yeah, my car obviously had a huge advantage there. But it was a great result. I'm very happy with that. And there we are in the standings. Finally, a good result. I'm fifth now in the standings, in the driver standings, and we're now 9 points clear of Rob Walker Racing in the constructors standings. So yeah, we've done well. The next race will be at Reims in France. So until then, I'll see you guys later.